Story 1. My pregnant wife is scarred and therefore less valuable because she defended me from a fatal attack. Please validate my need to cheat on her. Struggling to stay faithful and remain attracted to my wife after we experienced a violent attack together. Not sure what to do. I can't talk to anyone about this, for obvious reasons. I even tried speaking to a therapist and they made me feel so low I haven't gone back since. My wife and I have been together for 6 years, married for 3. We currently have a bundle of joy on the way and she's about 5 months along. My wife was always on the fence about kids, but I was adamant about wanting them. And now that it's becoming so real, I'm not sure anymore. I feel like I've just been on autopilot, and after spending this whole week buying baby stuff, I need to figure it out. Last year, my wife and I were at the park relaxing like we do almost every weekend, and someone yelled at us for speaking in my native language. My wife is trying to learn too because she's not Korean or Asian at all, but wants to only speak Korean at home to make sure our family is fully bilingual and they don't lose their culture. We were practicing out loud and sharing a snack, and this guy just walks up to us out of nowhere with wild, racist BS. He kicked our food and there was some arguing. And while I was calling the police with my back turned, he tried to hit me with a pretty large rock. My wife jumped in between and ended up taking the full force of the hit, which literally busted her forehead open and knocked her out cold for almost a minute. I rushed my wife to the hospital and the guy ran off and was eventually caught by police a few weeks later. My wife needed 14 stitches right across her face and had 2 black eyes and blood in them. Her face was swollen beyond recognition for a few days too, and when she fell, messed up an old knee injury, so when she got out of the hospital the next day, half her face was covered in bandages and she was limping. But she was still cracking jokes in the After the bandages and stitches came out, she was told she would need to wait at least a year before having her scar surgically fixed or whatever treatments. But now that the year has almost passed, I've started hinting at her scheduling appointments and such. This entire time I've been struggling with remaining attracted to her despite it, but didn't tell her, since I didn't want to be cruel. She's now saying she doesn't think she wants to get anything done because she wants to save the money for the baby. I've offered to pay for half of it, and she still hasn't really looked into having it done. I've also pushed back her meeting my parents again because of this and bringing her around my friends since it happened. Another part of me is also just sort of mad she even did it. I feel like half of a man now, and I've had to delete myself off dating apps before making a mistake and been channeling it all at the gym, but every time I look at her I'm reminded of all of those feelings. She hasn't changed a bit besides the scar. She's obviously handled it way better than I did, and somehow it's making me love her less. This, plus the pregnancy. I don't even know what to do. I thought about asking for a hall pass, but I know without a doubt she will leave me. I thought about taking care of my needs on the side so I can be the man she needs me to be, but I know she will eventually find out and she will hate me and make my life hell, or leave me a single father and I will never hear from her again. I just wish it had never happened, but I really need some other perspective or opinion on that. Story 2. Man coerces wife into having a baby. Has to face consequences. Hi-oh. Throwaway because my wife and I see each other's stuff on Reddit. So my wife and I met when she was 22. We hit it off and were married within a year. She was always child-free and told me that from the start. I figured she was just young and free and eventually she would settle down like every other woman out there. Well, eventually it started looking like she was actually serious, and she wanted to get her tubes removed. This really bothered me and I told her I think I'd be upset if she did it. Eventually I managed to get her to agree to have 1 kid. So we started trying right away. She still wanted her tubes removed immediately after. We got pregnant fast. It was incredible. Everything went smoothly during the pregnancy and my wife gave birth to our son. My advice request comes into play here. My wife has not been the same since he was born. She cries more than he does, doesn't seem to want to hold him, and refuses to let him nurse from her. He is on formula we can barely afford even though she has the ability to nurse him. She used to be fun, bubbly, joking. Now it's like she's a completely different person. Yesterday I came home from work to them both crying and screaming. And my wife said, "Get him out of my house," referring to our son. I didn't know what to do, so I took him to my parents' house and came back home. And my wife was still in the same spot, crying, telling me her life is ruined, and that she had thoughts of running away. I have no idea what to do here. I feel my wife has a duty to our son to nurse and love him, yet she is trying to abandon him. Should I call CPS to talk to her about what she's doing? A hospital for her. What can I do about this? Is splitting up it? Before story 3 begins, if you like this content, why not subscribe for more and hit that like button? Story 3. My wife won't talk to me anymore. My wife and I have been together for 6 years, married for 2. She used to talk to me all the time. She used to share her day with me, just randomly tell me her thoughts, stuff like that. However, she also used to want to talk about problems we were having. A lot. It felt like we were always talking about what I did wrong. She thought I spent too much time talking to exes. I don't prioritize her over work, and mostly that I didn't care enough about her. It was so many different ways that she came to that conclusion. But it was like we were just always sitting down for a serious talk. So, I told her about a year ago that I didn't want to talk anymore. I was just tired of hearing everything I was doing wrong. I provide everything we need. Can I just have a break? I told her that if she had a problem with the way I did things, then she could get out of my house and we'd get a divorce. She told me that she was trying to communicate because she didn't feel appreciated and that I had one foot out the door. But I think that's ridiculous. I know it's harsh, but I was at my wit's end. So now, a year later, she barely talks to me at all. When I ask about her day, she says fine. When I talk to her about work or politics or my day, she says oh wow, cool, and kind walks away. Her attitude isn't bad. She's very sweet, but it's just like she doesn't care anymore. I didn't want to talk about our problems anymore, but I didn't mean stop talking, period. We really don't talk about anything that doesn't have to do with our life, household. In the evenings, she just turns on the TV. And we watch something until bed. Now I don't know what to do because I just found out today that she won a pretty big award at her job. And she didn't tell me. Last Friday, she said she had to work late and it was cool. I didn't ask. Today, I found out that she was really at a dinner where she was celebrated for this award. She invited some of her friends and her mom and brothers. I ran into her brother at the store today and he mentioned the dinner and said that he was sorry I couldn't make it. I asked what he meant and he said the dinner, how I wasn't able to go because I was sick. I asked him to explain the whole thing to me so now he knows too. What am I supposed to do? Is she punishing me or something? Do I tell her that I know? Why wouldn't she tell me? I didn't think she'd take it this far and now I'm thinking she's being petty. Does anyone have experience here? I love my wife and I'd do anything for her, but I'm so confused. Edited BC, I put the wrong gender. Edit. Wow, a lot of comments. A couple people are asking about the exes. I have close contact with 3 of my exes. My previous wife calls me when she needs to talk. Her and her husband don't get along. I have 2 ex-girlfriends who I am still friends with and I was friends with them when I met my wife now. My wife doesn't like them because she says that they cross boundaries, but honest to God they are just friendly and we ended in good terms. It's nothing serious and I just don't want to give my friends up. Edit 2, you were right. Tried to talk to her last night. It didn't go well. I'll update later when I can get my thoughts together. If you made it this far, leave a message saying banana in the comments. Let's confess the F out of all these, going straight to the comment section after story 1. Story 4. I asked my wife if we could open the relationship. She agreed, and I'm feeling upset because although she's bisexual, she's only sleeping with men. 32 meters and my wife is 30F. After 5 years of marriage, I felt like she had given me all she had to offer. Now, please don't judge me for saying that. She just had a very low sex drive and I have a higher one. I figured opening the relationship would help out marriage and help me get my needs met. She originally said no, but after I explained to her the benefits, she said yes after a few days of asking. We seemed both excited at the possibility of a threesome. Now where the problem lies is that my wife is bisexual, and yet the only people she's been sleeping have been men. When asked about this, she said she only sleeps with people she clicks with, and they just happen to be men. When I told her my feelings about this, she said it's only fair because I'm sleeping with other women. While true, it makes me wonder if she's truly bisexual. When I asked for her to also sleep with women or I'd want to close the marriage again, she rolled her eyes and said no. One of the guys I fear is trying to seriously date her. He brings her flowers and food, pays for her nails, and never even acknowledges me when he's over. I feel like she's dismissing my feelings and I'm getting frustrated. I want to close our marriage again. How to approach this? Finally, we have story 5. Which story did you like the best? I pretended to have a vasectomy 2 years later and my wife is pregnant. I am going through a horrible dilemma and I'm so deep and I have no idea what to do. My wife and I have been married for 9 years and we have 2 kids together and we aren't planning on having any more. Well, my wife is set on that idea, but I wanted to have at least 5 kids and she only wanted to have 1 or none. This doesn't take away from the fact that she is a great mother, it's just her preference. Going into the marriage, we sort of compromised to have maybe 2 or 3 kids. I am set on having 3, but she didn't want any more. It's been 5 years since having the first 2 and around 2 years ago she was hell-bent on me getting a vasectomy. I wasn't comfortable with it and refused, but it became the center of our arguments. We dated for 5 years before getting married, so we have been together for a total of 12 years when this occurred. Now we have been together for 14 years. These were such lovely times and I didn't want to end our relationship on this, especially since we have kids together. So I agreed to the vasectomy after months of arguing. Fast forward to now, my wife is pregnant. She doesn't know how this could have happened, but I do. I never got the vasectomy. 2 years ago, I pretended that I got it and I told her someone else took me to the appointment and I took off a week of work so I can recover from it. I tried to be precautioned during sex by pulling out, but it clearly didn't work. Now my wife is furious as I told her that the vasectomy could have failed rather than telling her the truth. She is also scheduling appointments with lawyers so she can sue the practice in which I received the surgery. However, if they have the records, it will prove that I never got it. Now my wife is also thinking about having an abortion, but I am trying to convince her to drop this whole thing, and if anything, this child is a miracle. What should I do now? I'm worried if I tell her the truth then she will leave me. I don't want to lose her. She is the love of my life. I don't know what I can do without her. I know this is my fault, but please help me on how I should go about this. TLDR. Wife got pregnant. She thinks I had a vasectomy, but I never got it. She wants to sue the practice. How do I tell her? Who would you say is the worst? Like, comment, and subscribe.